We can all make mistakes, but perseverance in error is true madness. Zeno. In the year 300 BC, on the island of Cyprus, a very wealthy merchant named Zeno of Citium. During that time, a significant portion of commerce took place through navigation. It was during one of his voyages that Zeno's life changed forever. The story goes that Zeno shipwrecked in Athens, losing all of his possessions due to an entirely uncontrollable event. This man who was once wealthy found himself in ruins thousands of kilometers away from his home, without money and with nobody willing to help him. For many, this would have been an irreversible tragedy. Most people would not have been able to recover from such a devastating blow. However, Zeno did something different. He reacted in a distinct way. Now, imagine for a moment how you would react if all your lifelong work was destroyed by the relentless force of nature. You might be angry, sad, or feel that life was unfair. For most of us, these would be normal reactions. But not for Zeno, the founder of Stoicism. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss all the valuable content we're preparing for you. When Zeno reached the shores of Greece, he said, "Fortune, having long played with me, at last made me a philosopher." A small adjustment can last forever, but a small shift in your way of thinking can lead to bigger, more impactful changes in the future. At the core of Stoicism is the very definition of acceptance and indifference to what we cannot control. After reading the works of Socrates and other great philosophers, Zeno developed and taught Stoicism. According to him, while we may not have much control over what happens to us, we do have control over how it affects us. Therefore, we should use that control to our advantage, rather than lamenting lost possessions. Zeno focused on maintaining composure in the face of situations, staying calm and neutral even in difficult circumstances. Nowadays, people often mistakenly view Stoics as emotionless individuals who don't experience extreme emotions like anger or anxiety. However, the original idea behind Stoicism was much deeper. Historical Stoicism can be applied to many current situations, just as it was applied thousands of years ago, and its benefits are equally impactful. Instead of being merely a description of emotionless people, Stoicism was a way of life. This way of life allows us to process negative emotions arising from specific experiences and transform them into thoughts that provide a unique perspective of the world. Perspective is everything, and everyone has different experiences, which means everyone also has different perspectives on things. Since the times when Stoics gathered, discussed, and taught philosophy in public places, it was believed that Stoic principles could be very beneficial for anyone. Therefore, it didn't make sense to hide this knowledge behind the four walls of a school. As a result, from slaves to emperors, everyone could learn and become a Stoic. The early Stoics practiced what they preached, avoiding any form of segregation and leading the fight against inequality, even when it wasn't popular. Women could also freely learn about Stoicism and become Stoics if they wished. But why are so many people nowadays adopting Stoicism as a way of life? In a world full of unexpected twists and turns, our emotions tend to get in the way. In reality, we don't get sad because bad things happen to us, we get sad because bad and unexpected things happen to us. Let's take rain as an example. It's great that rain helps water our plants, provide water for animals, and keep the temperature cool and moist. However, when you're caught in the rain without an umbrella on the street, your perspective changes. But here's the question: why don't we start crying when it starts to rain? This doesn't happen because, although the situation is unpleasant, we've already accepted the fact that rain is inevitable. We have no control over the weather, and while we might not like it, the rain eventually stops, and the sun comes out again. Stoicism teaches us that in the same way, we should always be prepared to accept that many bad things, over which we have no control, will inevitably happen at some point. One of the Stoic exercises is known as voluntary discomfort, aimed at increasing feelings of gratitude. This might involve sleeping on the kitchen floor or taking a cold shower when you're used to hot ones. This exercise helps you realize that no matter how tough the situation, you will survive, and likely thrive if your mindset is right. By being able to endure uncomfortable situations, you indirectly prepare yourself for the challenges of the real world. In a current landscape where advertisements are constant and we're led to believe we'll never be happy without the latest version of something, without fitting a certain visual standard, or without earning a specific amount of money, our vision becomes clouded. We see through the lenses of school, social media, and our own perspective. However, many times, these three sources of knowledge teach us in different ways. The real question is, do we really need to internalize all this knowledge? Because by doing so without proper reflection, we might set unrealistic expectations for our lives without even realizing it. This can leave us disappointed and unsatisfied, not the best way to live. We should focus on improving ourselves without attaching external hopes or attachments to the actions we take. This often leads to frustration. While it's true that there are companies that no matter how hard you work, won't reward that effort, the idea is that if you want to achieve something, you should focus on the effort, not just the outcome. You always have control over the effort, you always win because it's within your control. However, the outcome depends on so many factors that clinging to it usually brings a lot of frustration. It's this shift in mindset that's crucial for a true Stoic. A Stoic doesn't measure their success in the financial gain of their endeavors, but in the fact that they can lead a comfortable and content life without all the things money can buy. The four cardinal virtues in Stoicism are wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. Stoicism teaches us that the limit of wealth should be having the essentials and then having enough. Justice is one of the most important virtues and teaches that no one should harm another, as we are all born for each other. In modern psychology, Stoicism is at the core of procedures like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and logotherapy. CBT helps patients identify negative thoughts causing emotional and behavioral issues, allowing them to challenge the reasoning behind those negative thoughts with logic. Logotherapy, on the other hand, is based on the Stoic principle that humans have purpose even in the darkest situations. We can fill our lives with meaning and happiness. It's easier said than done, it's a process like any other. To solve our problems with happiness, we must practice self-worth by redirecting our definition of value to things we can control. We can stop focusing on things beyond our control and concentrate on what we already have to lead a happier, more fulfilling life. Stoicism helps us navigate through past and present storms into calmer, more peaceful waters. And if our ship does sink and we find ourselves alone, we can find solace in the fact that we lived a good life, even if not as good as we expected. Because, remember, all things in this life have an end. Thank you very much for watching until the end of the video. What did you think of these lessons? If you're new here, consider subscribing to join us on the wisdom of stories. Until next time.